The exuberant earthworm. Earthworms are a common daily occurrence. We fish with them, they crawl across our pavements, and live in our garden. The phylogenetic tree illustrates the evolutionary relationships among the 9 major animal phyla. The position of each phylum on the branches of the tree indicates the origin of each animal group in the history of life. For example, sponges and jellyfish are considered to be more simple animals, and phyla Echinodermata and Chordata are more complex animals. Considering phyla Mollusca, Annelida, and Arthropoda, they are all offshoots of the same major branch and are closely related to each other. The earthworm is assigned to the class phylum Annelida. Annelid worms are distinguished from other important worms like nematodes because they are segmented worms, they live in moist habitats, they are bilaterally symmetrical, they contain a coelom, they contain a through-gut which consists of a number of layers, and they are triploblastic. Some examples of annelids are the various leeches, marine bristle worms, botworms, and of course earthworms. There are many different species of earthworms, such as the giant earthworm. The largest giant earthworm ever found measured nearly 7 meters and was found beside a road near King Williamstown in 1967. I have chosen the Lumbricus terratris earthworm, which goes under a variety of common names. Most references are just to the scientific name, or the common earthworm. The common earthworm has a bilateral body symmetry, which means the left and right sides of the earthworm can be divided into approximate mirror images of each other along the midline. Bilateral symmetry is a characteristic of animals that are capable of moving freely through their environments. Cephalization is considered an evolutionary trend, whereby nervous tissue over many generations becomes concentrated towards one end of an organism. This process eventually produces a head region with sensory organs. Cephalization does exist in an earthworm. The nervous system of the earthworm is distributed through the segmented body along a nerve core. There is a typical head with a mouth and sensory organs and processes. Hence the earthworm exhibits cephalization. The earthworm is triploblastic. Triploblastic animals possess 3 major tissue layers. It has a middle layer, the mesoderm, which is situated between the endoderm and the ectoderm. There is also a coelom present in the earthworm, which is situated between the endoderm and the mesoderm. The endoderm and the mesoderm are split by the coelom. The earthworm has a through-gut. The digestion system of annelids consists of an unsegmented through-gut that runs through the middle of the body, from the mouth, which is located on the underside of the head, all the way to the anus. The gut is separated from the body wall by the body cavity, called the coelom. There is a coelom present in earthworms. The gut is separated from the body wall by the body cavity, called the coelom. The segmented compartments of the coelom are usually separated from each other by thin sheets of tissue, called septa, which are perforated by the gut and by blood vessels. Except in the leeches, the coelom is fluid-filled and functions as a skeleton, providing the animal with the resistance necessary for muscular movement. It also keeps the internal organs separated from the outer layer of the body, so that the internal organs can move and grow on their own. The earthworm has a closed circulatory system. An earthworm circulates blood exclusively through vessels. There are 3 main vessels that supply blood to the organs within the earthworm. These 3 vessels are the aortic arches, dorsal blood vessels, and ventral blood vessels. The aortic arches function like human heart. There are 5 pairs of aortic arches, which have the responsibility of pumping blood into the dorsal and ventral blood vessels. The dorsal blood vessels are responsible for carrying the blood to the front of the earthworm's body, and the ventral blood vessels are responsible for carrying the blood to the back of the earthworm's body. The color of the earthworm's blood is red when it comes into contact with oxygen. However, some species of segmented worms and annelids have yellowish blood. In earthworms, the coelom is fluid-filled and functions as a skeleton, hydroskeleton, providing the animal with the resistance necessary for muscular movement. If the worm is punctured, it loses its ability to move properly, since functioning of the body muscles is dependent on the maintenance of the fluid volume in the coelom. In primitive annelids, each compartment of the coelom is connected to the outside by ducts for the release of sex cells, and paired by excretory organs. These openings are closed except when functioning, thus preventing the loss of coelomic fluid. Earthworms are hermaphrodites, meaning they both have female and male sex organs. When mating, the two worms join together with their heads pointing in opposite directions. Sperm is passed from one to the other and stored in sacs. Earthworms have several important ecological roles. Some species are used commercially for bait, animal feed, and composting. Earthworms are sometimes known as ecosystem engineers because they significantly modify physical, chemical, and biological properties of the soil profile. These modifications can influence the habitat and activities of other organisms within the soil ecosystem. Earthworms influence and benefit the soil ecosystem in a number of ways: recycling organic material, increasing nutrient availability, improving soil structure, and providing food for predators. Biologists have come with increasingly concerned about the effects of people on earthworms' absence in the ecosystem. By using pesticides and other harmful chemicals in our soil, it poisons the earthworms living under the soil. We must stop using pesticides and harmful chemicals in our garden. There are 6,000 different species of earthworms. Earthworms lack lungs or other specialized respiratory organs. Therefore, earthworms breathe through their skin. The skin releases a lubricating fluid that makes moving through the underground burrows easier and helps the skin moist.